Hey y'all,
What's going on, everyone?
I'm Jay,
And I'm Chris, the Bird Nerd.
and
We
we
are
are the
the
Bird
Bird Brain.
Brains. Way off over here, who knows?
It was sounded okay on my end, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But
back to our normal intro. I did kind of like the mid convo
that
intro
was
though. Maybe we should do that sometime. I guess we
I
gotta
like
have
that.
that. We were just talking about my yard toad, to totally unrelated to birds. So
Oh, maybe that's the new intro. Just we'll just click record it and not even tell each other, and then just ease our way
start
into
letting
it.
it flow.
Let you
But
guys see the combo in between these podcasts. So
no, I mean, so the one of the things that when we first started talking about doing this, obviously didn't know you nearly as well as I do now. One of the, and I don't know if I don't think I've ever said this to you, Chris, but like one of the coolest parts about this for me is like you and I becoming like I talk to you like every day.
absolutely.
We've
Yep.
become good friends, and we're working on maybe getting it. We've not met in person,
Right.
and we're working on hopefully getting to do that here in the next few months.
Yes.
And I'm excited for it, but um, so in between filming, we talk about everything from, how was your day to how's work going to, crazy stories or anything. But yeah, today I've got in my side yard at my house, there's a toad that lives there that I see when it rains. We were talking about my yard toad. So
And that stemmed from me showing the
yeah,
video of my
show the
my
beard. He's right there. I
my
didn't know
got
he was right
my
there.
son's bearded dragon here. I don't know how well you guys can see him,
Yeah, great.
but
He's,
he's
he's a famous, what's
what's
his
going
name?
on? Am I in trouble? His name's
Mhm.
Spike. So
Spike. That's right. So
he's
yeah, the,
uh he's the fattest, laziest bearded dragon you could ever ask for, but incredibly friendly. My kids take him everywhere. My 4 year old loves him, and he just hangs out on him. Every once in a while, he's a male, so one of the characteristics of a bearded dragon, the males, their neck turns like jet black, and then he'll kind of do like his mating dance, but never been aggressive. He's never bit us once, unless we've got a worm on our hand and we're trying to feed him, and he gets excited. But
that doesn't count.
he really has been a good lizard and has become a good part of the family. My daughter's cat, he's a Siamese cat. His name's Leo. He just sits here. I think he's become more friends with him. At first, I think it was a genuine curiosity of like, can I eat you, or what are
What
you
are
not?
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now like the cat will sleep next to the cage. Like I think if we had the Spike, our bearded dragon, out of the cage, they'd probably just like lay by each other and just hang out, be good friends. But probably shouldn't try that so we don't have tears coming through the house in case the cat tries to eat them. But
Yeah, I try. You, it's da- it can be an accident, but it's dangerous to mix things that aren't supposed to mix, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I back in the day had pet mice and hamsters, and every once in a while one would get loose, and the first thing everyone would say, and we had the chipmunk too. The first thing everyone would say is, "Where's the cat?" 'Cause you got to lock the cat in the bathroom until
yep,
you catch the rodent, because it's not the cat's fault.
right,
You
yep,
know.
just doing his job.
All right. So, Society Finches.
Some of the I'd love for us to cover some of the top reasons why to own a Society Finch. Super popular finch, right? Most people have heard about them. I would say most people that have kept a wide variety of finches probably at one point or another have had a society finch. But why a society finch, and what can they bring you in a world of a mixed aviary or even just an individual cage bird in your house? The benefits of both.
Right. And so we're gonna go. I think we're gonna try to stick to three reasons, the top three. Maybe we should do four, so we can do two each.
I like that.
But and everyone here who's bummed that we're saying we're limiting it. Here's the thing: the Society Finch, the Bengalese finch. Let's start with this. It's the only finch that doesn't exist in the wild. It's completely human created in Japan and China hundreds of years ago, from a bunch of different Munia and mannequin species interbreeding, created this non-wild species. It's kind of like the modern cow. There are
Yeah,
wild cousins, but there's no you never see an Angus in the woods, right?
right.
So this has got to be by the numbers for a variety of reasons, which we're going to get into, I'm sure, as one of them is the breeding thing. It's got to be the most numerous captive finch in the world. And as a result of that, also the most well known.
Yeah.
So if you're coming here for Society Finch basic information, you had to go past 30 other people giving you that information. So we're going to just try to do it a little differently, sort of highlight our favorite things about Society Finches. We both keep them right now, why we keep them, and maybe down the road we'll do some more Society Finch videos. Drop in the comments, tell us what you think. But that's we were talking about today, and that's kind of what we decided is we don't need to do a how to take care of Society Finch video because there are 4,000 how to take care of Society Finch videos.
The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. Bird Brains, Bird Brains. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. Bird Brains, Bird Brains.
Quick plug in for our sponsor. Good big shout out to New Zealand. And if you guys have been following the recent podcast episodes that we've done, obviously there's some big things coming down the pipeline. Still working on our Bird Brains perch box that both Jay and I are really excited. And they're adding some cool perks around that perch box, the Bird Brains theme music or
Yeah,
podcast theme song. So hopefully, just kind of some cool things on their websites, and looking at a huge array of Finch products that we can put into that box month to month that I think will be really cool, beneficial, useful, and exciting for your birds if you guys subscribe to that. So good things coming down the pipeline for that. Also, Jay adding things week after week to the website, different Finch products, nutritional products, nesting items, things like that. That
you
really
name it,
just yeah,
medications.
yeah,
Yeah.
medications. Just trying to broaden that area. It really is going to be a one-stop shop for most of your birds' needs, big or small, which I think will be really cool. And Brandon from New Zealand's been working with us, awesome dude, and done a great job at taking the needs and what were the recommendations that we've been given, and a lot of those recommendations are things that we've received through you guys as well and through our own experience in hopes that we can really put some valuable products and items on that website for us to benefit from.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm just excited. I'm excited about all this stuff. We basically, when we started this, we had no idea where we'd be, and here we are. I believe we're on episode 52.
Yeah,
And yeah,
crazy.
I mean, yeah, we accidentally became famous Finch guys or whatever. I don't actually think I'm famous, but you know what I mean? Like, and I was talking to one of the people that I talk to all the time for help and things like that, and he said to me, you and Chris have the most Finch information on the internet, and I
Yeah,
hadn't thought of it like
I,
that.
I haven't either.
Um,
It's pretty
but yeah,
awesome.
I didn't tell you that off camera, but and I don't know if he's right. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's some guy in Japan that doesn't make it to my algorithm that has a million videos or whatever. But I mean, between you and me, I mean, just on the podcast, we're probably at 60, 70 hours of Finch information, and then our personal videos. I mean, we several hundred hours of
Yeah,
Finches.
yeah, that's awesome. I've never even
Yeah,
haven't even thought of that, man. That's pretty
that's
cool.
that you're having the same. I waited so you could have this reaction on camera. I had the same reaction. I was like, oh man, like I didn't do that on purpose, but I guess it's true. I mean, he's like, yeah, Finch specific and like this varied of all the species and everything. There's nobody else, and which I think is why we started this in the
Yeah.
first place.
I
But
I was just
that's
gonna
true.
I was just gonna say that, Jay, and I think we covered that in one of our first episodes. But that is one of the reasons why I started creating YouTube videos. Wasn't for the fame or anything like that. It was because I kept trying to go out and find information because I was slowly trying to get some of the more exotic or rare species or harder to breed species. And I couldn't find any information out there except for a 20-year-old book that still wanted you to feed 100% seed and keep them in a tiny cage, and I just couldn't find the information out there. So that was one of the reasons that sparked me creating videos so that I could provide that information for other people. Now, knowing that I'm not an expert in all things birds, but my experience is way more valuable than finding nothing out on the
Yeah.
internet and other places. And so that was probably the main driving reason for me starting my YouTube channel and talking about my finches.
I'm not like you. I did it for the fame.
Yeah,
Hasn't
right.
hasn't paid off yet, but one day. Um, yeah, no, yeah, same thing. I mean, I don't think I'm, perfect by any means. I definitely make mistakes, learn
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
I mean, I know a lot more now than I did 5 years ago. I know a lot more now than I did 6 months ago. I
right.
still have people I'll go to. I'll ask you stuff. You, me, and Alex have a text. We bounce stuff off each other. I talk to Tony Arnold.
Yep.
Anytime, like Aladdin, like he just came out with a new thing. He's feeding his insect,
Guppies.
that water flea thing or
Well,
whatever they're
was
called.
so he had the water fleas, and then he just posted a video this week feeding actual like live guppies.
Baby guppies.
Yeah, baby guppies. His cordon bleus were plucking them out and eating them. It was nuts. Like
I
kudos to
gotta
that
see that.
dude.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, yeah, check it out. This week he posted it. Aladdin, love you, man. You're doing some awesome things out there and
Mhm.
really broadening the spectrum or thinking outside of the box when it comes to
Yeah.
some of these nutritional supplements for your birds. And in reality, that's probably what the birds have a percentage of that in the wild that they are eating. We just haven't observed it yet or watched it, or gotten actual footage of it. But yeah, man, his cordon bleus, they were going to town on him. It was
And
crazy.
even if they wouldn't get something like that in the wild, that is like super high protein.
You're right.
You're not likely to have a illness that can cross from fish to bird. I mean, yeah, he's the man at that. So I mean, the dude hand fed a orange breasted waxbill or a
Yeah,
gold breasted
gold breast.
waxbill.
Yeah,
So yeah, but so there's I don't think I'm the guy, right? But maybe we are, one of the guys,
right.
and that's been really fun. Um, but when Society Finches, what was your first finch? Yours were zebras, right?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, my dad always had zebra finches, so that was the first finch. But I do remember the very first pair of society finches. So my older brother Bob, he's into birds, and we talk every day. We used to have about a 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. phone call every day, giving an update on the birds or what we found the night before. And he's several years older than me, so I was probably about 12 years old, and he was about 18. He bought the first pair of society finches. He built this cool kind of like a long flight cage, and he hung it on the outside of my dad's aviary. So it's kind of like this little
Oh,
addition on the
that's
side.
super cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And he put plants in there, and he bought his first pair of society finches, and he put them in there, and they bred for him. Like it was really cool. That was the first time I'd ever seen a society finch in real life. They weren't as popular when I was younger, and not as I can hear you, baby chicks. That's awesome. Love the button quill chicks.
Hmm.
Um, but so that was my first experience with them, and it just kind of sparked this fuel, and then he actually ended up moving out of the house, moving on, and I kind of took over the society finches for him and had a great experience. And then when I got married to my wife, the first pair of finches that I bought was society finches, and I had them in a tiny cage. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, we lived in a basement apartment, and I was really wanting some birds and saw a pair of Society Finches at
And they
the
fit
pet
the bill.
store. They fit the bill and got them. So they were kind of my in my adult married life. They were my gateway drug or gateway finch to what I have now. So
My Society Finch story's worse, but I want to say to my brother Bob, who may or may not watch this could be us. Do you hear? Do you hear? I want him to get birds so bad. I'm gonna just give him a pair. I'm gonna give him a pair, no takes backsies.
there you go. You
Um,
should just start the addiction now. That's all right. It's a
right.
healthy addiction, hopefully.
And so um but yeah, so my first finch is two species at the same time. This is how inexperienced I was, by the way. So everyone's sitting here thinking, "Oh, I'll never know as much as Jay." Listen to this story. I was 16. My mom said you can get finches. I've talked about that part of the story before. I went to PetSmart and I bought a male zebra finch and a hen society with the intention of those being a pair and interbreeding because I didn't know anything about anything. So
Yeah,
first of all, don't go to PetSmart. Second of all, don't interbreed birds on purpose. Third of all, yikes. And yeah, tiny. My actually, I didn't have them in a tiny cage because I've told the whole story before, but I had this
right.
flight built. But yeah, I bought Tarzan and Jane, which the one of the male zebra finches I have out there now is like Tarzan the eighth. So
Nice.
I've kept that name going. But uh, so yeah, my first birds too was one of them was a society finch, and you know probably because of what I just said, I didn't breed society finches for like a year or two in, and I now know if I'd just done a couple things, I would have bred a lot of society finches. The first thing being having a pair.
Yeah,
Um, but I guess that's what I'll talk about. I'll say my first awesome thing. The reason I keep society finches is they have got to be the best finch to learn about finch breeding. I don't, and
absolutely.
zebra finches are the easiest finch to breed, but you will learn a lot more from society finches. Zebra finches are like too easy to breed.
Yeah.
You can screw everything up and they will still breed. Society finches require a little bit of doing
Yep.
it right.
Yep. I so the first time, so that pair that my brother bought, he kind of did the first breeding success with them, and then I actually had bought another pair of Society Finches, and I had it inside the aviary with the zebra finches, and I could never get them to breed, and I'd get frustrated. That's one of the reasons why I bought my when I got married, the first pair that I bought was Society Finches because I'm like, I'm gonna breed these things. Like,
I'm going to
I
conquer this. Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of like that initial challenge. The hard part with Society Finches, they're not sexually dimorphic, right? So visually, you can't tell a male from female. Yeah, and you have some species, your spice finches or your Java finches. Sometimes your males are bigger, their beaks are a little bit wider and broader or darker color. There's some tall tells that you can visually sex them. Society finches, I have not found any of that to be true with them.
There's the
And
eye thing, the eye to
yeah,
beak line, and look, I'm I'm this now. I just said I don't think I'm the guy. I'm going to brag now, but I'm really, really good at doing that with birds,
yeah,
with finches. I can sex finches better than most people on earth, I'm sure. Even I'm like maybe 60% with societies, maybe.
yeah. I
It's
was gonna
they're
say so.
just tough.
Societies, I'm not good at. Other species, I feel like I'm pretty like you give me a Java finch, a shaft tail, some of the other harder to sex species, a parrot finch, I can tell you, and I feel like I'm fairly accurate. Society finches, it's a 50-50 chance for me. Your males sing, and once they get comfortable in their new cage, they'll start singing a lot if they're a male. And your females, they don't sing. They have a little chirp, but they lay eggs.
They do like
And
a little trill thing, yeah.
yeah, and but yeah, I would agree with you, Jay. They're easier to breed, but you learn better with them. They are a for the most part, a forgiving species. I think my number one favorite thing with them, and it's kind of two things into one. I love their energy. They're more of an energetic bird. You know, you got Gouldian finches. They're beautiful, but they're a boring bird to watch for the most part. They kind of just sit around,
I
and
I just sold somebody a pair of zebras and a pair of Gouldians, and
uh,
they're new to finches, and it's an older lady and her granddaughter, and they've been messaging me a lot, and they said the zebras are really active and fun, and the Gouldians just kind of watch the zebras. I was like, yep.
yep, absolutely. And your society finches, they have the level of energy as a zebra finch, minus the aggression. They're not nosy, and they're not going to be aggressive towards other birds. And that's the second reason why, number one, that why I love them. You can put a society finch with any bird, any finch, and they will never be the reason for something bad happening to the other finch. Like they they are
It's in the
they're
name.
yeah, they're almost too social, really. And you get a bunch of society finches together. You want to see how many society finches can fit in a small nest? You'd be surprised. Every night they will just cram that sucker,
It's like a
like
clown car.
sitting on top of them and just keep popping out. So that's probably my number one. I love how kind they are, but they are energetic enough that you're not bored. The males sing the song's a quiet song, but it's loud enough that you can hear them, and it's beautiful. And each male has just a slightly different sound in his
Hmm.
song. There's so many different colors that you can find from society finches, and varieties of colors that I think that keeps that excitement for me, and really one of the things that I'm drawn to most for society finches. How about you, Jay?
Yeah,
What's your
the
others?
so the other one for me is the society thing, which we haven't talked about it yet. So there's a couple things around that. So yeah, they outside of breeding, they will all sleep together in a pile. There's no other way to describe it. It's a pile,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
don't know how the bottom ones don't die. They fit so many in there. I'm
Yeah,
like, can that bottom
right.
one breathe?
I often wonder how do they convince that guy to go? You know, like if you told me I had to go sleep with all my brothers, sisters, parents, cousins in a bed all on top of each other, I would not volunteer to be the bottom guy,
Right.
but they do it and then they flock. So in a big aviary, if you get a bunch of them, they'll all flock together, which seeing
Yeah.
big natural behavior like that is so cool.
Yeah.
And then they foster,
Yes.
right? So we've talked a lot about this before. I don't advocate that being your plan. There's some like Gouldian breeders in particular, very common like South Florida. They'll have 150 pairs of Gouldians and 300 pairs of societies to foster all the Gouldian babies. I don't like doing it. I do not ever breed birds with the intention of fostering, with the exception of like some really hard to breed African species that like if a chick dies, it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
But it is so, the reason that I have societies now more than anything else is it is so nice to have the break glass in case of bird, right? Okay, let's say I'm breeding Gouldians and one of the Gouldians dies or something. So nice to say, well, I'll just put them in with my societies. So
Yeah.
nice to have that backup. They're almost like the Robin to my Batman, right?
Right.
So nice to have a bird that is a backup. And if you don't know what we're talking about, I'll explain a little more what fostering is because I don't know if we've ever actually gone into it.
Yeah, I don't think we
Um,
have. Not in great detail.
Society finches, even you don't even need a pair. In fact, people often say the best fosters are a trio of males.
Yep.
Um,
That's my go-to is a pair or a trio of males.
and naive is better. Naive meaning they have never raised their own chicks because then they don't even know what their chicks are supposed to look like. But you can give them either eggs or young chicks, and they will, as a general rule, it's never 100%, but high 90s, they'll just feed any bird that ends up in their nest. They don't question it. And even like I've it's happened with me and I've posted videos of it. They'll try to like sit button quail eggs sometimes, which is almost the same size as they are. They do not care. They are like, you know, the TV family that adopts kids or whatever, you know. They if they come across an egg, they will decide right there and then, this is my egg. I will raise this child, you know, and they'll
Yeah.
do it.
Yep. Yeah, no, they're awesome, Jay. And my view on fostering is be responsible and be mature about it. And what I mean from that is I've fostered many times, and like what you said, Jay, it's with harder, rare species that either are struggling or endangered in captivity. That we've got several African species that I would say are on the verge of becoming non-prolific or extinct in captivity. In all reality, unless they trap more wild birds and send them in, and that's not what we want either. So society finches are a huge benefit to those species. They're also a benefit as a backup plan. I use my societies as I call it a second door backup plan because there's pros and cons to fostering, but what I mean by a second door backup plan is if my Goulian finches have chicks and they toss the chicks or something happens to the parents and they stop feeding, my first backup is another pair of Goulians that I can try and
Yeah.
transfer those babies to and let them raise them. I want them to be raised by their species, and that's the best for the birds. And I'll get to that reason why here in a minute. But if I don't have a backup of their same species, then my society finches are that second door because I'd rather them survive and be able to be raised than just die. And especially with some of like your Goulian finches, the parrot finches, and then going into most of your African species.
Mhm.
And that's usually mostly what I have in my aviary in my mixed setting. Some of the cons that I would say for fostering jay is you lose some of the authenticity of those birds. And what I mean by that is many times the males will pick up the society finch song and not
Right. In their
sing
brain,
and
they're a
uh
little
and
society.
and not sing, so if you have a shaftel, if a shaftel is fostered by a society finch, his song will sound more like a society finch than it will a shaftel. I've seen star finches that sing more like a society finch. Your Goulian finches, they have a very unique song, and it still very much sounds like a Goulian finch. I've never seen a change in that. I've seen Amadina finches sound very much like a society finch when they sing, and that's due to fostering. Those babies, they pick up on the males singing, and that's what they mimic their song after. Some of them can also imprint on a society finch. I've seen shaftails that have been fostered by society finches, and I put them in a colony. I have a society or a shaftail finch that I'm 99% sure was fostered by a society finch. It wasn't in my aviary, but when I put a society finch in there, that's the first bird he goes to, even though he has five other shaftails around him. So those are some of the cons to it that it can skew some of that, and so that's why I say be mature and responsible about it. Don't just set up 150 pairs of society finches so you can crank out as many babies as you possibly can. But there are some species that need society's help. Cordon blues, some of your fire finches, some of those really hard to
Mhm.
breed species that are truly struggling in captivity to establish a good population. Society finches can absolutely help there. They helped with the Goulian finches many decades back in the United States through fostering, and now we've got a really nice healthy
Yeah, we
population of
don't need
Goulian
that.
finches. We don't need that, right? And so there's a benefit to that, but just be cautious. Use them as a second door backup instead of a primary backup or a primary parent, and then kind of go with what you can right now in hopes that you can still have success, and let your society finches breed themselves as well because they're great parents. It's fun to watch their babies. I love seeing society chicks throughout the aviary. They're just these little goofy little clowns,
They're
but
cute.
they're cute and they're a lot of fun, and it's pretty cool to see them all huddle up next to each other at nighttime and things like that. And so one of the reasons why I do love the society finches. But yeah, beware with fostering. Pros to it, they can help big time, but there are some cons to it as well. And we just want to be responsible as best as we can when going that route.
Yeah, and I'll say it this way. So like I've got 4 or 5 pairs of societies. I'd have to go look, but and I have fostered in the past, absolutely. Last year once or twice. This year I did not foster at all, and with societies. I did do some same species fostering, but I'm proud of that. That's good. That in my mind, that was a success for me that I never had to use societies. So
Yeah, that's
that
awesome, man.
shouldn't, like you said, that shouldn't be your goal or even your backup plan. But like I said, that it's very nice to have that break glass in case of,
See,
if it's that or
yeah.
no, I'd rather use them.
See, and I have two society pairs right now currently fostering. I've got star babies, Goulian babies, and one shaft tail that I thought was a zebra finch. But again, all of those were babies that were either tossed out of the nest or an egg that was found in an abandoned nest and it was cold, and I just threw it under the societies to see if there was,
Just
if
to
it
see
was
what might
still
happen.
fertile, and they ended up hatching out. I had no other pairs that I could have put those eggs under. I mean, I'm pulling nest boxes down now, so I really have very limited options as far as being able to transfer those babies to someone else. The zebra finch or the shaft tail baby, that one's kind of funny because it got tossed. I came out into the aviary, it was on the aviary floor, and I had three nest boxes up at the time. And so I looked in all three nest boxes, nothing in any of them. No eggs, no chicks. And I'm like, crap, I don't know which one to put it back in there. So I didn't feel like I didn't, and it was, it
Yeah, in
was,
that case, I would have done societies too. Nothing else
yeah,
to do.
yeah. And it was, it was young enough. It was just about to the point where it was a few days away from getting pin feathers, but its eyes were still closed. I'm like, and shaft-tails and zebra finches look very similar as young chicks. And so I just thought it was a zebra finch. So I threw it in with my society finches that already had two star chicks about the same age. And I was like, well, we'll see what happens. And they ended up raising it. And it's a shaft tail baby. He came out of the nest. And I was like, oh, that's not a zebra finch. But so there's things that they can really be awesome birds for that. And I truly appreciate it. But I do not have them as my first option. I try to look for other options first, and then if not, they are the end all backup plan because I do not have time to hand feed, and it's either that or the babies die.
Right, right. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. And I've started to pull nest boxes too. I'm at like a few weeks behind you, like we've talked about. So I've got about half mine down. So knock on wood, I said I didn't use them this year. There's a chance I could get caught
Yeah.
here at the end. And we'll see. But um, yeah, I think that sums up. They are a really fun bird, a great bird. I think uh, just like we talked about last episode where you said, I don't think I'll ever not have button quail. I don't think I'll ever not have societies.
Yeah, yeah, for real. And maybe just the last thing, Jay, on them, they're a hardy bird. They do great cold, hot, and they're fairly resistant to diseases. And so a pretty forgiving bird in that aspect as well, and which makes them a great beginner bird. Maybe another notch up on the breeding, not as easy as zebra finches, like you said, but another notch up there. But yeah, so all around, great bird. Lots of varieties there, lots of fun that you can have with them. Do good in inside a house because they're quieter. They do great in a mixed aviary outside. They can fly well. So you've got a great option for indoor bird, outdoor bird with the Society Finch.
Absolutely. Yeah, great all around bird. I don't have a negative.
Yeah. No, I really don't either. They
Mhm.
just being goofy and cramming 100 birds into a nest, but I don't even think that's a negative. So
Just funny. Yeah. All right. Well, if they have a Society Finch question, Chris, where can they find you?
yeah, reach out to me Facebook and YouTube at Bird Nerd and Instagram at Bird Nerd 4. Love to hear it. Maybe send me some pictures of your society finches that you got. I love to see different different varieties and colors and morphs of birds, so
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
I'd be
So
curious to know. Drop down in the comments. Was the Society Finch your first Finch? I'd be
yeah,
curious
there
to
you
know
go.
what percentage. I'm guessing almost everybody's either zebra or Society, but I'd be interested to know how many people it was Society first.
I would love that. Yeah, that'd be awesome. How can they get a hold of you, Jay?
I am on YouTube, obviously, Instagram, Reddit, Threads, which sucks, and I'm on Facebook. It's the Javiary or the underscore Javiary on all of those. Reach out if you got questions, concerns, comments, thoughts, opinions. We want to hear them. thanks y'all. Psyched to be here at episode 52.
Yeah, going
A
strong.
big thank you to New Zealand. Really appreciate their support, and we'll see y'all in the next one.
See you guys.